On this edition of Native Report.
Good morning, Twin Cities.
We go into 92 KQRS with Martha Fasthorse, host and producer of a weekly public and cultural affairs radio program. We learn everything you ever wanted to know about Indians, but were afraid to ask, with award-winning author Dr. Anton Treuer.
There are a lot of negative stereotypes of Native people. There's a lot of romanticization about Native people. Neither one's healthy.
And we continue with part 2 of Inalik, Little Diomede, a documentary about an island in the Bering Strait. We also learn something new about Indian country and hear from our elders on this Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux Community, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and the Blandin Foundation.
Proud of our young people when they graduate.
Hi, welcome to Native Report. I'm Stacy Thunder. Martha Fasthorse is the host and producer of a radio show that airs every Sunday morning on 3 different radio stations in the Minneapolis-St. Paul listening area. Her show accomplishes an important goal. It gives Native people a voice in mainstream media.
I'm going to be working in there for another.
Martha Fasthorse, host of the Martha Fasthorse Show, is at KQRS recording her weekly public and cultural affairs program to air this coming Sunday. I had the honor to be this week's guest.
Okay, thanks, Justin. My special guest this morning is Stacy Thunder. Stacy is from the Red Lake Nation. She's the popular co-host and producer of the long-running PBS TV program Native Report. My show began in 2008 in January, and it was born out of protests against the KQRS morning show. There was some comments that were made by the morning show hosts about Beltrami County having a high rate of incest, and they got in trouble for that. Getting to know them, I know that some of the things that are said for sensationalism. It's a morning show, but those comments can be offensive as well.
After a series of protests by the Native American community and a meeting between Red Lake Nation Chairman Floyd Jourdain Jr. and the station management, an apology was read over the air.
We've developed a relationship of mutual respect. We've had our ups and downs, and Tom Bernard has been a guest on my show as well, and has apologized for some comments that he made about Indigenous people, and that's not even the most important thing about me being here. People can say whatever they want to. The most important thing is providing a voice for the people in mainstream media. So it's informative and educational.
Martha's show also airs on 93X and Love 105, sister stations of KQRS. Plus, it's streamed across their websites and Blog Talk Radio, reaching a wide audience.
Well, I get a sense that it's mostly Native people, but there's people that have contacted me who are up early with the baby, people that are coming to work, going to work. This work matters to people who come here, to people that listen, people from the community. I'll be at the bank, there'll be someone on the bus. People say, I listen to your show.
Martha says a vision led her to the medium of radio.
There had been 8 young people within a year at Little Earth of United Tribes that had been killed, either directly by other community members, the young people fighting, shooting each other, stabbing each other. I worked as a police dispatch supervisor, and it was greatly affecting me, that this was happening. And I remember just driving home one day, going down Ogama Place, and just praying and crying out to Creator for a vision for the people to heal. I would do whatever it took. I would tell my story, whatever I needed to do to make a difference so that these tragedies would end, that there would be peace. And it was right around that time that I just had a feeling. I just had this feeling inside of myself that something big was about to happen. And it was that week that I met the producer from Chicago and went to the meeting with Pat Bellinger and Vernon Belcourt, and my career in media began.
We're going to interview you.
I believe that when Creator gives us a vision, we're given the support. The people around us instinctively or intuitively know how to support us in our work.
As a radio show host, Martha has talked with many well-known personalities, but she does this with a sense of service to a broader community.
I feel the appreciation from people in my community, people who I admire and respect. When they see me and they acknowledge me, they'll smile. They'll shake my hand like they shook the hand of somebody important. And I never let that go to my head. It's important to remain humble. It's not about making a name for myself. It's to serve the people, whether you agree with it or not. Wouldn't you like to be informed? Wouldn't you like to know what's happening? How this group of people, fits in with the larger community. And we are the first peoples of this nation, and we have stories to tell.
Did you know that the Federal Communications Commission in 2010 adopted an order that gives Indian tribes a priority to obtain broadcast radio licenses in tribal communities? The order provides an opportunity for Indian tribes to establish a new service specifically designed to offer programming that meets the needs of tribal citizens. The order also fosters localism and diversity, key policy goals of the Commission and the Congress. The FCC is looking to help tribes expand their unique radio programming, a service that focuses on the promotion of tribal culture, language, and historic preservation. Although well over 1 million Native Americans and Alaska Natives live on over 55 million acres of tribal land across the United States, in 2010, only 41 radio stations were licensed to Native tribes. To address this imbalance, the FCC order gave precedence to federally recognized Native American tribes to obtain radio licenses. The first non-commercial radio station owned and operated by Native Americans in the U.S. was KYUK in Bethel, Alaska. The station went on the air in 1971, making radio available to a population of 20,000 Yupik living within an isolated 56,000 square mile area, roughly the size of Ohio. Donald Brown, in his 1996 book, Electronic Media and Indigenous Peoples, A Voice of Our Own, says indigenous media can rescue languages, increase self-esteem, combat negative images in the mainstream media, foster cohesion among indigenous people, and to serve as a visible and audible symbol that indigenous cultures count for something through their possession and operation of modern technology. Since the 2010 FCC order, many new tribal radio stations have started broadcasting throughout Indian country.
Next, award-winning author Dr. Anton Treuer's latest book, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Indians But Were Afraid to Ask, may sound tongue-in-cheek, but is presented in a matter-of-fact way. Native Report caught up with Dr. Treuer to find out if it is indeed everything you wanted to know.
On this fall day, Dr. Anton Treuer is in his office on the campus of Bemidji State University. An award-winning author whose writings often deal with the Ojibwe language, his newest book asks and answers questions about Native life and culture.
I've been keeping a shoebox for about 20 years full of questions that people have asked, and some are really common ones, like is it Indian, Native American, Aboriginal, Indigenous, First Nation person, or what? And just how to address questions. And then some are kind of searching and out there, especially around culture. A lot of people don't know a lot. I was envisioning this initially as a toolbox for non-Native people to get answers to questions about the first people of the land. But there have been lots and lots of Native people who've been really grateful for the book, either because they get the questions and are looking for reasonable ways to answer them, or because, growing up regardless of your race in this country means getting a sugar-coated version of Christopher Columbus in the first Thanksgiving, and even a lot of Native people feel kind of ill-equipped to address, what is sovereignty? Why do we have treaty rights?
Dr. Treuer asserts this book is not meant to represent the Indian view or the opinions of anyone else. It presents the views of one Native person, himself.
With many of these issues, terminology being one of them, there's a diversity of opinion out there. You'll find some, people who say, I'm not an Indian, don't call me that. You'll find people who, take equal issue with Native American. I tend to use them all fairly interchangeably, aware of their shortcomings. And you're always safe using tribal terms of self-reference. You can call Dakota people Dakota, you can call Navajo people Dene, you can call, Ojibwe people Ojibwe. For me, what's most important is that we don't so charge the atmosphere that everyone feels like they're walking around on eggshells and can't even ask the more meaningful questions that are going to, help them understand us a lot better.
He's also not afraid to tackle some well-established and accepted theories of Native origins.
The archaeological community has really changed a lot. If anyone's bought a book, that's 20 years old or older, whatever they say about Native origins is completely outdated now. They used to think Native Americans, came from Asia to North America, when during the Ice Age, sea levels were much lower. There was actually a land, not just an ice bridge, but a land bridge between the continents, and that's how people got here. But now they've found a number of new sites, archaeological sites, one in Pennsylvania, Meadowcroft Rock Shelter, other ones even in Chile, that are pushing the dates further and further back. And once you get back, 17,000 years, that has been pretty well affirmed as a reasonable date when they have clear evidence of human beings, making fires, and there's burn marks on bones that was used for cooking, not just a lightning fire. Once you get to those kind of dates, then you get beyond the most recent land bridge. And then you have to look at when was the next land bridge before that, and you're looking at 40,000 years. When you look at ancient civilizations, Phoenicia, Egypt, China, you're talking about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. 12,000 years ago, all of England was completely covered in ice. There were no human beings living there at all. But there were most definitely human beings in the Americas then. So no matter how you slice and dice it, Native Americans are indigenous.
Other big issues viewed through a different lens include the Thanksgiving narrative and the Christopher Columbus story.
The Thanksgiving narrative kind of revolves around, the pilgrims being saved by Native Americans and taught important information about how to farm, and then they all sat down and broke bread together and had this wonderful meal. In part, that's just not supported by the historical record. Taking a deeper look at history is important. Same thing with any of the points in history, the Columbus narrative, any of that stuff. It kind of astounds me that after 500 years of history, it's hard for a lot of Americans to say, you know, this country was created in part on a genocidal treatment of the first people of the land and the enslavement of black people, and those things are morally repugnant. And I say that because I love my country and to make sure it doesn't happen again.
There are many topics covered in the book, all written with the intent to demystify what it means to be Indian.
It's complicated because anyone of any race who wants to learn more is going to run into certain roadblocks. Some of those are the fact that a lot of indigenous people have been, in varying degrees, disconnected from their own culture. You know, there are a lot of negative stereotypes of Native people. There's a lot of romanticization about Native people. Neither one's healthy. And I think with a useful toolbox, which I hope is provided in the book, you know, we'll be able to have all those small coffee table conversations and then the bigger political actions.
Axel, how old were you when you joined the service?
Well, I was 18 when the war was declared. That was in December. But I went into the Army in March of 1943. That was a year later. After our training, we went from Fort Belvoir course to Westover Field. We went from there, finishing our training at Sedalia Airfield. Then we shipped by troop train to Camp Stoneman, California, and shipped out from there. We went into the Golden Gate Bridge, which was kind of a marvelous thing for us to see. And then from there we went straight down to New Guinea. But I was fortunate to be assigned to a ration truck, and I drove the ration truck. It was hot there in the jungle. Well, I wasn't able to no hero because I wasn't. I just went to war and came home, you know.
We continue now with part 2 of Inalik, Little Diomede, a documentary produced by Jeannie Green from Alaska about an island in the Bering Strait. In this segment, we learn more about the people of the sea.
Andrew Kuniak is one of the many hunters here in Diomede. Today, Andrew is taking the North Trail in search of seal. Along the cliffs, several blinds have been built for hunting. But Andrew picks a new spot and now must build his own blind. By stacking rocks on top of each other, Andrew will have a place to stay out of the wind and stay hidden from his prey. For Andrew, this is a way of life that was passed on to him by his elders. With a lack of jobs in the community, a subsistence way of life is essential for everyone.
Yes, I've been, I cook for my parents too, so when they were leaving, so I love cooking. I don't know why. This is walrus heart. This this spring and cut it up into, you know, the pot size, and Ziploc and freeze it. So they always come in handy like that. I never try to overcook. The walrus hard. When you cook them too long, they get real hard. Yeah, gotta cook them just right too.
Frances Ozena has a busy day ahead of her. 2 days ago, her husband caught a spotted seal that needs to be cleaned and put away. For the next few hours, Frances will be busy preparing barrel foods.
First, we're going to go downstairs and look at the barrel food I put away. I worked on the spring. And there's going to be, I'll explain to you what's in there and how I prepared them as I pull them out for an elder. Don't slip.
Wooden barrels are used to store foods throughout the year and are usually kept outside.
This is where my barrels are. They're lined on the outside because they're so old, but it's not. It's got thick plastic on the inside because I can't use it. You know, it will leak if I put seal oil in it. So those are old barrels. I wish I had more light down here. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in my walrus kidney I cooked, half-dried. I cooked them, cut them, and put them in. And then I'll pull out what I have in here. Okay, inside the barrel is sterile seal oil. And the first thing I'm gonna pull out is, they call this coke, and that's walrus skin with a little bit of blubber. Cooked, then put in. And this is dry meat from Ugruk. And this is half-dry seal rib.
Back inside the house, we get a better look at some of the native foods Frances has stored in the barrel.
This is what we call coke. Walrus skin. See, there's the piece of the blubber. This is the hand of the walrus. This is the here, let me find a better one. It's not, this is kind of dark. Right here is we call mamoon. It's breast milk, walrus. A little bit of blubber on top and a little bit of the meat. And this is the kidney I put in, half-dried kidney, walrus kidney. And there's the braided half-dried intestines.
The seal meat must now be cut into manageable pieces and the meat cut away from the blubber.
I'm taking off the extra meat that was left on there. So I want to have this blubber to make more seal oil and blubber, because I don't got enough seal oil for the winter.
But first, the skin, which will be used for clothing, must be separated from the blubber. Nothing will go to waste on this animal. Even the intestines are used.
This is seal blubber, extra seal oil I want to make, and extra blubber. Of course, the top is dry. I'm not going to keep that, but I'll keep what's underneath. And here is the seal heart, which my husband got a seal a couple days ago, and I'm going to fry that up. I'm going to rinse these, and I'm going to hang the intestines up. 2 ways you can do with seal intestines is hang them dry and the kids eat them after you rinse them, or you braid them up and cook them in with your seal meat, and it'll be boiled. Usually I'm pretty fast at these. It's a little sticky too. That's it. The biggest part about living in Diomede is subsistence. I was told in the past, before we changed our lifestyle, that it was really important to learn how to survive in Diomede. I started late in life. I started maybe when my kids were just toddlers, my first 3. And normally they would start as early as 5, 6 years old, and I didn't. It just, part of me just wasn't ready to learn. But when I learned to preserve food, you know, I started late, but I enjoyed it. I'm not just talking about just barrel food. I'm talking about fermenting, you know, gathering greens, crabs, freezing stuff for, you know, to eat later during the winter.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, look for us at nativereport.org and on Facebook. Thank you for spending this time with your friends and neighbors on Native Report. I'm Stacy Thunder. We'll see you next time.
Stacy Thunder is a member of and legal counsel for the Red Lake Nation, and Tad Johnson is a member of the Boys Fort Band of Chippewa and is chair for the American Indian Studies Department on the campus of the University of Minnesota Duluth. Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux Community, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and the Blandin Foundation.